The next one to get in line to judge Jesus is going to be Pilate. So they bring him before Pilate, and they begin to accuse him. We found this man misleading our nation. My word, if we jailed everybody in this country that was somehow misleading the nation, always reminded when I hear that phrase, the Three Stooges. How many of y'all know who the Three Stooges are? You can finish this sentence, Mo, look at Curly and say, every time you think, you weaken the nation. That was the other half. Every time you think, you weaken the nation. And the fact of the matter is that Jesus had come to seek and to save that which was lost. They were misleading the nation. Jesus had come to restore Israel to God. The next thing they say is that Jesus is forbidding people to pay taxes to Caesar. How many of you remember Jesus forbidding the paying of taxes? What did he say? Give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto God that which is God. Now, this is a continuation of the council's work. And in their selfish rejection, they have absolutely no problem lying. You say, but these are the religious leaders of Israel. These are supposed to be the godly people. And I want you to know, folks, there's one thing to reject Jesus in ignorance. And it's another thing altogether to stand before the world and to selfishly reject Christ and to lie about Him. Think about that on Judgment Day. And he's saying that He Himself is Christ the King. So Pilate asked Him, saying, are you the King of the Jews? Now, who is really the only true King of the Jews? I mean, we had David, and Solomon, and all these different guys. But when Israel was established as a nation, who was supposed to rule over them? God. In fact, it was a whole thing between Samuel and the nation as they wanted to have a king like everybody else. And Samuel looks at the people and says, God is your king. And they say, not good, not acceptable. We want a king we can look at like everybody else. Just like they had wanted gods that they could see like everyone else. So when we reject God, for selfish reasons. We want a king we can see. We want a God we can see. I must have. So Jesus says, it is as you say, I am King of the Jews. So did Jesus ever say He was God? Oh yes. Quite a few times He did. So, Pilate gets the idea, verse 4, I'm going to unload this guy. And so I don't see anything wrong with him. And I don't want to get into your religious game here. And so everybody's, all in a tizzy here. And so he hears the word Galilee. And Pilate said, whoop, this guy's a Galilean? Fantastic. Let's send him on to Herod. So we already know now, Pilate said, no guilt. He goes to Herod in verse 7, if you're following in chapter 23. And when he learned that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod. And Herod was thrilled because he wanted to see Jesus do tricks. You see, when you then run from ignorant rejection to selfish rejection to political elitism and rejection, I'm above all of this. I have power. Pilate, Herod, no matter who you say, there's a sense of elitism. I don't need to be involved in this sort of thing. Folks, there is no strata or level or place in our society today that is not going to eventually answer for what they did with Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So, he wanted to see signs, and he questioned him at some length, and Jesus didn't respond. He didn't answer. For many of us today, the only time we talk to Jesus is when we want Jesus to do a trick for us. Jesus, I want you to make me well. I want you to get me out of trouble. I need money for this, and I don't have anything else to do with you. I'm living my life. I am rejecting you the rest of the time, but I want you to do a trick for me, and so I call you into my presence to do what it is I want you to do. This kind of political treatment of Jesus, to roll him out when you want him, strike up the band and sing the big song and have him do a trick. This kind of elitist rejection Herod participates in right along with everyone else. So the chief priests, the scribes, are standing there accusing Jesus vehemently, it says. And so Herod with his soldiers then do what? What has Jesus done here? Nothing. So why would we then treat Jesus with contempt and mock him and do all of these things? What has Jesus done wrong to any of us? And yet somehow or another we are constantly judging whether or not we think Jesus is okay, whether he's responding the way he should, whether he did what he was supposed to do in relationship to some person. Well, Herod dresses him up in a gorgeous robe. Why did he do that? Well, it was killing those Jews. This Jewish religious leaders are saying he's dressing him up like a king. So actually, Herod is mocking the council by dressing Jesus up like a king. And it so tickled, I think, Pilate just probably thought it was the greatest thing that Herod had found a way to stick a knife in the council and twist it a little bit in the process of them putting Herod and Pilate in such a difficult situation. So they stopped being enemies and began being friends over what to do with Jesus. Well, Luke chapter 23, verse 13. And I put this statement as a title for this slide. Not guilty, therefore I will punish him. And that's one of those statements, you look at it and you go, man, there's just really something wrong with the logic of that. But when you're going to reject Jesus on a political level, even though you know somehow he doesn't deserve what you're about to do, the politics of the situation say that as Herod and Pilate are going to get their meal ticket checked, they have to do what the people want to have done, or they're going to send off to Rome and say, hey, these guys down here, they're not loyal to you. And they'll be replaced. So Pilate summons the chief priests and the rulers of the people and says, you brought this man to me as one who incites the people to rebellion. Behold, having examined him before you, I find no guilt in this man regarding the charges which you make against him. Nor has Herod, for he has sent him back to us, and behold, nothing deserving of death has been done by him. Therefore I will punish him. And that's the way the world feels with Jesus. Jesus is a great guy. He's a great teacher. I love some of the things that he said in the Scripture. He was a great prophet. But I am not going to let him mess with my life. I'm not going to let him come and start changing things. After all, you talk about all the sinner stuff, and I am a good person. I am a good person. Problem is, Jesus says, nobody on the planet is good except God. He's the only one that's good. We're all sinners. We all first fall short of the glory of God. Heaven's a perfect place, and unless you're perfect, you're not going. He said, well, preacher, I guess you're not going. Hey, you know what I did? I gave up on living my life for myself. I asked Jesus to come in to save me, to make me a child of God, and I have no perfection of my own, but I'm counting on the perfection and the completed work of Jesus Christ on the cross for me, for you. I have received Jesus as Lord and Savior as He called me to Himself, and I'm going to go because I have an invitation. Amen. Not because I'm good. So today, as we think about these things that God may be calling us to Himself and to respond to the gospel and be saved and be changed and allow Jesus to do what He wants in our life as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and we look at Him and we say there's nothing wrong with Jesus, but I'm going to punish Him, I'm going to leave Him out of my life. He's released, He can go do whatever He wants to do, just not in me. So that kind of elitist rejection where we put ourselves ahead of God is going to come back for an explanation on Judgment Day. Well, there's another group, the selected crowd. You know, when you want to hang a guy in the Westerns, you know, and you go and you find you a posse, and generally, who do you want on the posse? You want some people who are ready to hang somebody. So you get all these guys together and you get them all stirred up and you hand out guns if they don't have them, and you get on horses and you go riding off in 50 directions to get this guy, and we're going to have a hanging. And basically the religious leaders did the same thing at the temple guards and all the folks that are out there. We want you to control anybody who seems to be sympathetic to Jesus and keep them away, bring in the others. So here they are before Pilate. And Pilate has this opportunity to release a prisoner. And this is his trump card. This is how I'm going to deal with the Jesus thing. My wife has already told me not to have anything to do with this guy. She's already had a dream about him. And so I'm going to get out of this situation. So he tries to present Jesus as the one to set free. And they say no. Instead, give us a guy who's in prison for insurrection and murder. Wow. I will reject the Son of God. Have some person who is guilty of leading the people against the government and killing folks. You know, for a lot of us today, we are rejecting Jesus for things that maybe are not that bad, I think. But we're not going to come to Christ because we may lose a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Our spouse may not approve. We're going to reject Jesus because, well, I have an addiction that I don't want to change. I don't want to give up this or that. And whatever it is that we're hanging on to, it's like, yeah, take Jesus away, crucify Him. I don't want to have to deal with Jesus. Leave me with this thing that controls my life. And as you think about that, that is the what's in it for me rejection. What's in it for me really connected to selfishness. Folks, I know that I and everybody else here today were guilty of having judged Jesus in one of these ways, and possibly more than one. Luke 23:22, He said to them the third time, "Why crucify Him? Why? What evil has this man done? I have found in Him no guilt and death. Therefore, I will punish him and release him." We're going to have to realize that in those insistent voices, those loud voices of that surrounding crowd, screaming that He be crucified, those voices that begin to prevail, that a person who is intent on pleasing people will give them what they want. To maintain their power, to keep what they have, they will allow the crowd to do whatever they desire. And if today you are a follower of Jesus, as our brother just prayed in his prayer, there's a rising sense of persecution and opposition to Christian views and ways. We're going to have to decide. Though we're not guilty of anything against our nation, we're not guilty of anything against our government, we're not guilty of being truly a hater of any people. If our culture rises up to say we're going to punish people who are Christians, you'll have to decide whether or not to stand with Jesus or throw him under the bus, as they say. This is an important point in history. Because if you throw Jesus under the bus, when you stand before him and he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that will be a decision that you will regret. Amen. So let's talk about their judgment as we conclude. First of all, you would see that whether it was the ignorant rejection, whether it was the rejection of the religious leaders, whether it was ultimately the rejection of Herod or Pilate, no matter who rejected, all of those things are going to be overturned by God himself. They condemned Jesus to die. Is he dead? No. He's not dead. He's alive. His Father did not allow him to stay in death. He is the source of eternal life for all who believe. So already their judgments have been thrown